Okay, awesome, awesome. Thanks a lot, Sue. So I just wanted to check in that everyone was hearing me. If you could just type in the chat box here, just let me know that everyone, I'm coming through loud and clear to everyone. Awesome, 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 awesome.
Sounds like you've got it going here, Colin. Sounds good.
Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, so let's get started, everyone. So first of all, let me say thanks for joining us on today's webinar, The 3Ds of Self-Publishing, Secrets of Successful Self-Publishers. And I really hope that you're having a great day so far. But if you aren't, don't worry, it's about to get a whole lot better. So you can get your notepads and pens and pencils out. You can start taking some light notes, because today we really have a great content-rich webinar for you that will help you to maximize your royalties in less than 24 hours of implementing these strategies that you're going to learn today. So first, let me tell you a bit about me. My name is Colin Scott, and I'm the Business Development Officer over at Speedy Publishing, LLC. And we're a hybrid publishing company that acquires, creates, publishes, distributes, and markets both physical and digital content. So I was actually born in the sunny island of Jamaica, the most beautiful country in the Caribbean, and home to Usain Bolt, the fastest man on earth. And before you ask, that's not why we named the company Speedy Publishing. So I spent the majority of my adult life in Jamaica, graduated from the University of West Indies, and started working in the financial sector. And I was doing credit administration all the way up until 2006, when I started my first website. And that website is called Get Jamaica. And I started that with just about 20 bucks. And a couple of years later, I sold that website for $23,000. But during that time, I've done a lot of things. I've made money with Google AdSense, made money with affiliate marketing, made money flipping websites, forex trading, a bit of self-publishing, and of course Kindle publishing. And over that time, I've made about $900K over the 6-year time period. And in 2008, I took the first plunge into publishing, and I published with a Vanity Press publisher. The first book was called Jamaican Cooking Made Easy, and it still ranks well for the term Jamaican Cookbook on Amazon.com. But in reality, nothing compares to self-publishing. And in May of this year, just one of my Kindle accounts was able to bring in just under $6,000 US. And that was just one Kindle account. And for most of us who need to know, you can actually have multiple Kindle accounts. And that's just a bit of FYI. So nothing really compares to self-publishing. So what are we going to be looking on today? We're going to be going over 3 ways to increase your publishing revenue literally overnight. We're going to be looking on design and formatting techniques, which we consider to be very, very easy. We're going to be looking on smart distribution and the ways that you're going to earn more publishing revenue, which we consider also very easy. And discovery and sales conversion strategies, which I personally consider extremely, extremely easy. And then, of course, we're going to be looking on a bonus part of the webinar, where we're going to be teaching you 3 really, really cool Amazon sales strategies and tips that will help you to earn much, much, much more by publishing on Amazon.com. So the first thing I want you to actually take note of is the importance of design and formatting more than design. And I want you to put this at the forefront of your mind as one of the most fundamental, if not the most fundamental strategy that you're going to learn today. So first, let's take a look on how just a few years ago, the publishing process was extremely linear. So first, an author would, of course, create the content, find a literary agent, who would then, of course, read the book, determine whether or not it would be good enough to go to a major publishing company. If it was, then negotiations would start with that publishing company, and the book would go through a rigorous editing and design phase, then finally be sent to the printer, then placed in the hands of distributors, then into the hands of retailers, and finally into the hands of the reader. And believe it or not, this process still happens today. But in reality, this is not what smart self-publishing authors do. And the why for this is that publishing has changed over the last 60 months because of smart retailers. These retailers now directly engage the author to provide the content in a saleable form. And the retailers then take that content and place it on their own retail platforms. Case in point, Amazon.com with KDP Publishing, Apple with iTunes Connect, Kobo with Writing Life, and Barnes & Noble with Nook Press, formerly known as Pubbit. And what they've actually done is that they have effectively soaked up all of the creative liquidity that existed, because authors could sometimes not even get past the first blockade of a literary agent. They weren't able to even get to the point where a publishing house would look on their book. But even more important than the fact that we know that there has been a major shift in how retailers are behaving is that readers themselves have changed the way how they're consuming content. So in this slide, what you're looking on is the reader stuck in the middle of this entire freeway of content coming at them and information coming at them. So this plethora includes standalone e-readers, such as the Kindle, the Nook, and the Kobo reading device. You've got mobile devices, which are things such as small tablets or computers like the iPad. You have audio-only devices, such as the CD Man for the more older folks like me, and of course the iPod for the younger folks. You've got print media in the form of paperback, both regular and large print, hardcover, magazines, everything that comes out in a printed media. You've got Braille devices, such as refreshable Braille and printed Braille. You have desktop computers, both PC and Mac computers. You've got television. And of course, you have even live content. That comedy show that's just down the road from where you live in the comedy club, that's also content. And all these ways that individuals can consume this content is either meant for information, to educate, or to entertain that particular individual who is also a reader. So all these readers have access to all this different type of content in numerous ways. And it's imperative for every author to get their content published in multiple formats to take advantage of these publishing opportunities. So really, what does that mean to the author? You now have more places to sell your content, more places to build an audience, more places to research for new topics, and more places to connect with readers as well as other authors. So really, authors need to now know what are the formats that they can place their books in that will reach the readers. So if we publish our book in the traditional methods, we're only targeting people that like books and not people that like to consume content. So in the past, we would of course create a regular paperback book. We'd of course decide if we're going to go into an ebook, whether it's an EPUB, etc., etc. But we're only targeting those individuals who can consume or want to be able to consume that particular type of content. But there are hundreds, thousands of other people who want to read romance novels, who want to discover other types of books, whether it's horror, whether it's whatever type of fiction, creative nonfiction, whatever the case is. You have to be able to reach those people. And the smart authors today are the ones who are creating their content, putting it into multiple formats that it can actually reach everyone, not just individuals who are going to purchase traditional books and traditional ebooks. So by creating content in the listed formats that you see here, you will be able to reach all of those people, all of those individuals who are readers, watchers, listeners, the visually impaired, the tech geeks, you name it, they will be there looking for that type of content. And your book will be actually available at the click of a button. So we're talking about getting your book into paperback format, whether it's regular or large print, in a POD way. You're talking about getting your book ready as an EPUB, MOBI, or web PDF. And these are actually just file types. So it's very, very easy for you to create that EPUB. You also want to get your book in an enhanced ebook, so you can actually add enhancements of audio and video to it. You want to get your book in an audio format, where you have an MP3, or which is actually downloadable. You have the actual physical CD that someone can pop into a CD player. You want to get your book into a mobile app, whether it's going to be Android or iOS. You also want to get your book into a hardcover format. While not as popular, but it can, of course, have a market. And you want to get your content into a Braille format. And that's very important. So if you consider a company such as Amazon.com, Amazon.com as a retailer has the capability to sell every single one of these. And when you place your content into those formats, you're literally opening up the door to get to as many individuals who want to consume that type of content and not specifically just want to read a book or read that book in a digital way, as in an ebook format. So you've got Amazon, where selling your paperback book, selling whether it's in regular or large print, selling your ebook, selling your enhanced ebook, because Amazon does do that as well, selling your audiobook, selling apps. The Amazon App Store has jumped almost 500% year over year. You want to get your content into that format. You want to also do hardcover if it is something that is financially feasible, and I'll make sure I put that out there, because hardcover in a POD way can be financially not feasible. But you can also put your content in Braille format, and you can get it on every single one of these retailers. So what you're doing is that you're taking advantage to get your content out there. And these retailers include Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, Kobo, Ingram, and Booker to a lesser extent. And we're going to talk about exactly why Booker is really so strong in terms of pushing your sales, and how important it is for you to actually have make sure your book has an ISBN. So now that you basically want to get your book in every single format, what is actually the problem? What is it that people are encountering that is making it so difficult for them to move forward? Well, primarily, let's start by looking on why people believe that it will cost you thousands and thousands of dollars to get it done. This is probably what you've been led to believe, but it's not true. It's extremely simple to convert your content into these formats. So I'd like you to go ahead and bookmark this particular website. That is speedybookeditor.com, and it's a completely free resource that's run by Speedy Publishing. And it will help you to actually convert your content into two formats of digital and print books for distribution with these specific type of retailers, and as well as offset printers, respectively. It's very, very easy to get this done. So to get your books in multiple formats, you're going to need a couple of things. First of all, you're going to need a personal computer, whether it's a PC or a Mac. You're going to need Adobe Creative Cloud. You're going to need an ebook converting software. You're going to need an app converter or creator, and you're going to need your trusty Microsoft Word. So using these tools, you'll be able to take your existing content and place your title in every important format that's out there. So starting with print-on-demand books, you can move quickly from an MS Word to a correctly formatted book for POD publishers such as LSI and CreateSpace. This will cost you $0. In fact, for many of us who don't actually know, there's something called digital certification, where when you're sending your content to LSI, you actually don't have to pay $1 in terms of setup fees. So that's something that you also want to be aware of. So once you think about the cost to get your books into print, it should be a no-brainer. And what about ebooks? Using a simple template, you can create an ebook with clickable links in an EPUB format, MOBI format, web-optimized PDF, which are the standard file types that are required for publication as an ebook. For an enhanced ebook, it's really quite simple. You simply just need to add code to make your existing ebook what is known as EPUB 3 valid. Once you've made your book EPUB 3 valid, then you add the code that will put in your audio and or video that will allow it to be rendered on specific devices. And this is a major thing. We need to think about, companies like Sony that control like the PlayStation. And in the future, we can just expect that people will not be so caught up with just reading a PDF book, a simple PDF book. You want to have those enhancements. You want to have the video. You want to have the audio. You want the individual to have the ability to listen, read through part of the book, then get up, put on their iPod, start listening to where they left off, get back to where they're stationary, and then flip open the book and start reading from that point going forward. These are the types of enhancements that we can expect to happen in the future. You don't want your book to become a dinosaur if you don't have that book in that existing format, where in the future people start operating this way, your book can still be a good seller. So your audio conversion is basically a matter of choice, as you must think about your ROI. So you've got to know that it can cost you quite a bit to convert your book into audio. So it can mean that if you outsource that book, it can cost you up to $150 or even more, depending on the narrator. But most self-publishers just go over to a site called acx.com, and they can actually find a narrator to do it, where they can actually now share the royalties. And so there is no upfront cost. Converting your book into a mobile app is a lot easier, again, than you might think. So what you need to do is to take your existing EPUB and use that through an app creator to convert your book into an app. You can even add audio, and you can, of course, add a video to that particular app as an enhancement as well, and get that book out on Amazon apps, on Apple iPad apps, on Windows apps, the Nook apps. You can get your content everywhere through a mobile app. And the cost of that kind of app creator, whether it's going to be web-based or it's going to be a standalone software, can cost you basically just about $30. So for hardcover format, outside, of course, of the cover design, to convert your interior into a hardcover format, simple, easy, free. For the Braille format, Braille comes in refreshable and physical print. To put your content in Braille for a physical book, it's going to cost quite a bit. The process does cost, and there are a couple of companies that do that. But refreshable Braille is different. And refreshable Braille means that you put your content in a downloadable format. It's as simple as uploading your MS Word or a text file to a particular website, and you can now download that information quite easily into a format where individuals can now download it themselves. And what will happen is that refreshable Braille will actually pop up with those studs where someone who is visually impaired can continue to run their hands over it and read that particular book. And that is absolutely free. It doesn't cost you a penny to do that. So then you want to get your books into these formats, because it opens up the floodgates where you're now going to be able to reach more individuals that want to consume that type of content, and not specifically that want to actually just read a book physically in their hands or want to actually read a digital book. So you're going to be able to have a much wider market of individuals who are interested in that type of genre. So now that you have your book in every format, it's time to let the world know. But there's one salient factor that must not be overlooked. Is the price right? Now, when you're coming up with your price, you don't want to add any other complexities where they're not needed. So you want to learn to price your content and not price the format. And how do we do this? So say I want to make $2.99 for every single sale of my book. Regardless of the format, that's how I'm going to begin pricing my books. So I know that if my book is in 10 different formats on 100 retail platforms, I want to get 10,000 sales a month. It doesn't matter in what format the content is sold. I know per unit that I should be getting $2.99. And that's exactly how I'm going to price my book, based on that particular strategy. And it makes it a lot easier for the individual to move forward in terms of calculating the return on your investment and, of course, the rate of return and how quickly you're going to get back what you spent in terms of creating the content and publishing it. So once you've established that, it's time to begin the distribution process. But before I go there, do you actually see how much your books being in these types of formats will open up the floodgates in terms of being able to reach to as many people that like your type of content and not just like reading a particular book? So you want to also make sure that you understand that your audience uses all formats and is on all retail channels. So now that you have your book in every format, let's now focus on distribution, which is another crucial aspect of self-publishing. Now, there are two things that you must do before you begin the process of distribution. The first is obviously obtaining an ISBN for every format that you create. And there are a couple of whys behind this. First of all, your ISBN distinguishes you from other similar titles. So if your book is called The Green Mile, there are many books out there that are called The Green Mile, you have to have a distinguishing number on your book so that you're not confused with any other particular title. More importantly, when you have an ISBN number and your book is listed with Booker, then your book goes into something known as books in print, as well as BookWire. Books in print is where a lot of book resellers actually go to find content to resell. And they'll look, and if they're looking for Halloween books or scary books or horror books or vampire books, if your book is listed correctly with Booker, then your book will come up. And that means that you now have individuals who are resellers who now will have the ability to purchase your content and resell it wherever. The ISBN also helps retailers catalog your book. That's how a retailer will list your book. It's a specific number because that number is unique and no other book has it. It's perfect for retailers to catalog your book. It also helps other readers to find your book if they're passing along an ISBN. And more importantly, you can talk about affiliate sellers who are going to learn about your book. And those affiliate sellers will take your content that is being pushed by Booker in what is known as the Booker feed. So let's take an example or look at an example of that. So we're going to head over to the web here. And I'm going to go to a website called half.com, which is an actual eBay company. And what I'm going to basically do is that I'm going to go ahead and grab an ISBN. Now, I've never been on half.com or listed any book on half.com, and I don't need to, because the ISBN will do that for me, because half.com will take that actual feed. So I'm going to go ahead and put in that ISBN, and I'm going to hit the go button. And what happens is that the book appears. And the reason why the book appears is because this company takes that Booker feed. And so they'll populate their website with that particular book. Now, while it says, sorry, this product is currently out of stock, I can make it be in stock by hitting this button that says, sell my copy. And now it's crucial to understand that everyone else who is out there who is also a reseller will do the very same thing. Now, there are thousands and thousands of companies that carry on this practice by taking that Booker feed and then going on websites like half.com and selling that book. So your book is being marketed and put on different places without you even knowing that it's there, just because you have that ISBN. And that's something that is critical to both discovery and sales. And you can take a look on an example of this book, which is called The Life of Pi, where individuals are selling this book as a brand new book. There are different prices on it. but an individual can quickly go ahead and add to this cart. That book is being sold. Now, even if it's being sold as a brand new book, that person is going to come back and then they're going to buy more copies of that book. So once you're marketing your book correctly and pushing discovery, people are going to want to buy that particular content. And that's something that you have to be aware of. So those affiliate sellers are taking that book or feed, making it so important for you to have that particular ISBN number. So the second thing is, most importantly, your metadata. And now your ISBN is a part of your metadata, but we're talking about something that is as crucial. And in my opinion, your metadata is as important as your book itself. So first, in your metadata, you want to make sure that you have a professionally designed cover. Your cover is the primary way of attracting potential buyers. And nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, says buy me like a great cover. You want to have a sales pitched book description. You want to make sure every word counts. You want to ensure your description is keyword rich, especially if you're putting out non-fiction books. You want to include an excerpt of your fiction book, and you want to talk about the main character or characters, and you want to begin to create interest. Now, most people don't make or take advantage of the author bio. For every single book that's there, you can put a separate author bio. And what you want to do is you want to tell the reader why they should read your book. You want to tell the reader who you are, why they should pick up a copy, and more importantly, you want to be able to create a story around you. You want to generate that interest. You want to also have editorial and reader reviews. You want to get in early reviews delivered and sent in. And you want to get those reader reviews posted in editorial reviews or in the description of your book as well. You want to make sure that you have the right BIC or BISAC codes. This is very, very important, guys, and you need to monitor that because you want to find that category that fits as close to your book's content. You want to ensure that you have the right codes and that you monitor this because, unfortunately, when BISAC codes and BISG decides to do any amendment to the codes, they might drop a category. If your book is in that category, what will happen is that when the retailer switches over, your book might end up going into the general category and literally into oblivion. So if you have a book that is on the paleo diet and they decide to scrap anything that's related to that, and your BISAC code was one of those that were put out, it will mean that on that particular retailer, your book will go back into a sort of general population where when individuals are drilling down to find content, they'll never find you, which is not a good thing. And it will make it much harder for you to sell. So you've got to be able to monitor that aspect of it as well. You want to ensure that you put your imprint name and your publisher name there. And why is that? Because it will either A, lend credibility to your existing book. So if you have a strong imprint or publisher name that you've built over time, that information being there will say to someone, oh, hey, I've bought a book from, let's say, Pets Unchained as an imprint, and it was really good. And now I'm seeing another book from Pets Unchained. This book might be good as well, and I'll go ahead and buy it. So there's a credibility. But the point is that if you don't have that level of, probably outlook there where people actually know about your publisher name or your imprint, it will begin to build that. And that's what you want. You want to be able to create that level of goodwill and notoriety in the books that you're creating and make sure that people know that, your company creates really good books. You need to have a publication date of your title and availability status. Why? This is important for what is known as relevancy, especially for nonfiction books. As a very old book on, say, diabetic recipes might not get as much love as a book that has on the cover new for 2014 and publication date in 2013. That will tell that reader that, hey, this is on the cutting edge, This is really, really new, especially for individuals who are creating tech content. You want to be on the cutting edge. You want to make sure that your publication date is there so the person knows that this is current information that can also influence a sale heavily. So what about the price of your book by currency? You want to make sure that you have this because it's really crucial for sales, especially with global retailers such as Amazon and Apple who have access to foreign markets. You want to make sure that you have that price listed. So you want to create your metadata once you've completed your manuscript. Edit it and tweak it because this will ensure that your publishing efforts are successful. So armed with your ISBN and remaining metadata, you must now choose the distribution method that will allow you to hit all platforms that accept all the formats you've created your book in. So let's talk about the 4 different methods that we know that work very well in the market of distribution. So first, you can use what is known as direct distribution. And this is where the author goes directly to the retail platform, as we had discussed earlier. And they take their content directly to them. Now, the pros to this is that the author has full control, which is typically a good thing. But there are negatives. Handling so many logins can become very confusing, and it can become very difficult for the author to be able to juggle all of this. There are also very limited options, such as the fact that if you're even publishing with Amazon KDP and you've created an enhanced ebook, you will not be able to get that enhanced ebook up because Amazon KDP does not allow regular authors to be publishing enhanced ebooks. There's also the issue that some retailers will not work directly with self-publishing authors. So you won't be able to get to that point and have full distribution. So next, there is what is known as aggregator distribution, where the author goes to an aggregator to publish their books. Now, an aggregator is a central distribution point where you upload your content and your book is published on different retail platforms. Now, the pros here are that you still retain full control and you submit only once, but there are some negatives as well. And the negatives are that some aggregators have limited distribution, and that's a very bad thing. You also have the fact where you have a lower revenue payout, and you have limited discovery help, which is also not a good thing. So next, you've got vanity press distribution. A vanity press is a service that authors pay to have their book published. I know because I went through one. So the pros of this is that you do indeed get help editing and design, and it's help with editing and design, and help with strong distribution. But there are negatives. Vanity press publishing can be very, very expensive. There are also restrictive contracts, and you do receive a much lower revenue from sales, and more importantly, you have limited pricing control. So finally, you have, of course, publisher distribution, where the author goes through to a traditional publisher. And the clear advantages of this is that you get your title into full distribution, of course, possibly not in every format, but you do get it in full distribution in terms of the different retail channels that are out there, and you do get some discovery help and, to boot, a nice cash advance. But there are also negatives. You are tied into a restrictive contract. You do get much lower revenues. There are lengthy payout periods. And if you encounter stagnant sales after the initial push, some publishers might just not be willing to go a second round with you. And your book would probably die on the vine, which is not a very, very nice feeling. So what are we saying here? The best option, of course, because you do get an advance, is the publisher distribution. And it's really the best option for the publisher too. And two, for the author, but getting there is so difficult. There are many blockades, as we mentioned in the first part of our presentation, that you have to go through the literary agent, and then you have to go through the negotiations, and you have to do all that stuff. So it's very difficult and very, very time-consuming. But aggregated distribution is way better, and it's the next best option. You get the control you desire, you get the pricing you desire, and the reach that you desire, and some aggregators will help with discovery, which is critical. Of course, direct distribution, there are limited options available, and it can become very taxing. And finally, vanity press distribution. Very expensive, and I'm going to say not really recommended based on my personal experience. And unless you get support in marketing, which you can, but you might have to pay a lot for, there are a whole lot of things that you're going to be required to do as well. And so the best option, in my opinion, is always going to be going through an aggregator. So the key here is to choose a distribution channel that you can personally work with, that will get you on as many retail channels as possible, provide you with ISBN numbers for each format of the book you publish, and give you accessibility to every market and format that your book can be published in. You should now see how important distribution will be for all your existing formats. The distribution must allow you to penetrate the market that exists for every single format that you can create. But having your book in every format, having your book available on every retail channel or platform will get you sales. There's no doubt in this. But you must apply discovery and sales conversion strategies to maximize the revenue potential of your books. This is where book discovery and sales conversion strategies come into play. You must push discovery. This is crucial to sales. So let's look on the one lesson that you must learn. Your book is not a box of orange juice that is purchased weekly at the supermarket. Your book is not, and many authors tend to believe that. And what exactly do I mean by that? I mean to say that every week when I visit the supermarket, I buy a box of OJ. But if this week I bought a copy of Dr. Sleep by Stephen King, I will not be going back to the store next week to buy another copy of it. And I will not be going back to the store the following week to buy another copy of Dr. Sleep, because I've bought it. And I'll wait until Mr. King comes out with another book to buy that one, or I'll move on to find another book in the similar genre. Now let's look visually on a slide to see exactly why this is important. On the top here we have book discovery. And when you drive customers in, individuals find your book, they buy your book, and then they read it and then move on. And they're looking for a new book, whether that book is going to be from you or from another author in the similar genre or the same genre. So they're gone. They've moved on. For orange juice discovery, way different. When the consumer discovers that brand of OJ, they will return to buy that brand every week over and over and over until they change the brand. Now, readers themselves do have these loyalty tendencies, and it's up to us to build on that as well. But that is based on audience building, and we're going to be looking on that. But for now, let's typically look on where you're going to be able to find those readers. Where are they going to be situated? So first, let's look on our checklist before we get started. We want to make sure, A, that we have our books in multiple formats. B, that we have the right metadata for our titles. And C, we want to ensure that we have full distribution of our title. We want to make sure that we hit these three things. It is critical before you begin the discovery process and the marketing process. You want to be sure that when an individual Googles your book, that they can find it in multiple places and in multiple formats. And that is critical. So you want to make sure that you follow the lessons before to get your content distributed and in multiple formats. So having met that criteria, we're going to use a three-pronged approach that has served us well. And you can do these simultaneously or consecutively. So this involves social media marketing, email marketing, and direct marketing. And these are just a few things that we know that we use that works well, and there are many, many, many other things that work just as well. So first, let's look on social media with companies like Facebook, Goodreads, LibraryThing. Then, of course, email marketing with BookBub and Pixel of Ink. And then finally, direct marketing using a very, very cool strategy with Google Trends and what is known as USPS door-to-door marketing. So let's start with Facebook. And here's why people say Facebook does not work. It's because you're not using it correctly. No doubt, but the issue here is that you need to use Facebook to build an audience. So the first thing that you want to do is that you want people to understand that yes, you're going to be selling something, but you really want to engage them. You want to engage with that potential reader. So here's how you do this. You create between 6 to 8 marketing images, and each marketing image should be about 600 pixels by 225 pixels. You're going to create an ad, and you're going to assign each image that targets likes and gets readers interested in your book covers. So you're going to put your book cover there as an image. The reason why is that there's more interaction on Facebook based on images over and above everything else. And the key here is that you want to target readers of similar books. And let me explain. Don't target people who like funny dog pictures if you have a book about dogs. Yes, if you post a funny dog picture and you're targeting those people, you'll get a gazillion likes. But if you target people that like Caesar Milan and the Dog Whisperer book and post a great cover image, these people we know are already readers. You get these people to come to your Facebook page, like your book cover, and you can begin engaging them. You want to offer an incentive to comment, like, or share. You want to offer an early read or a free digital copy or something to get them interacting with you and the page. And you always want to make at least one non-book related post each day. Something that keeps them engaged and in a conversation. And remember that these people who are here, who have liked your page and have gone through it and seen a couple of posts, they are your newfound friends and they are your fans. So your next task is to head over to Goodreads. And what you want to do is that you're going to use the purpose of Goodreads to sell books and to also build an audience concurrently. First, you have to add your books to Goodreads. Then request that you get an author page to be created. Once this is done, you'll be able to create a book giveaway, and you always want to use at least 30 books. This giveaway will lead to interest being generated about your book on the platform, and you want to keep this running for at least 3 to 4 weeks. Next, you want to create a self-serve ad campaign with Goodreads, and you're going to do that with 3 ads. And you need to do the following first. Create an advert for your book giveaway. Ensure that you include an excerpt of your book. Next, you want to create an ad for your book that is going to go back to your Facebook page. It's 10 cents per click on Goodreads. These are expensive clicks, but when someone clicks your ad on Goodreads, they're either sent to another website where the book is for sale, or they're sent back to a Goodreads page. The key here is that you want to engage that reader because they liked your ad. They liked what you had to say. They liked your book cover. So what's going to happen is that when you send them to your Facebook page and then give them some incentive to begin interacting, you're going to be able to keep those individuals. You're going to be able to reach out to them. So don't always drive traffic back to Goodreads. You're paying to push traffic just around in a literal circle. That's not really smart. So you want to link back to your Facebook page from your Goodreads ad. And you want to kind of incentivize the ad. Give them a call to action. Next, you want to, of course, create an advert that will go to your order or pre-order page. And what you're basically doing here is testing. You want to basically test to see how good that particular sales page looks, whether it's on Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble or Kobo or wherever it is. You want to help to use that to drive sales. In your ads, you want to ensure that you use a call to action as well. You want them to like your page, buy your book, comment on it, do something about it, get something going, get some interaction going. The next stop is, of course, Library Thing. And Library Thing is a social media site for readers, geared towards building an audience again. So first, what you need to do is, of course, you need to add your books to Library Thing, and then create an early reviewer book giveaway. And you want to be able to give away at least 20 books. What is unique about Library Thing is that you can do this for both ebooks as well as print books. Previously, when we looked on the Goodreads giveaway, you can only do this for a print book. But you can do a giveaway on Library Thing for ebooks as well as print books. So you want to tie that all in together. And you want to ensure that in your giveaway you use a call to action. For an ebook, you want to ask them to review the book. You want to ask them to go on Goodreads and probably add the book to their shelf if they want to get it. You can ask them to do anything like this, including sending them to your Facebook page. And you want to tell them, hey, if you want to get a free copy of the ebook, if you do these things, then you'll get a free print copy. And if you're giving away the print book, you want to tell them to do the same exact thing. But then, if they're going to get a free copy of the print book, they can get a free digital copy when it's in the mail on their way to them, so that they can start reading it early. You want to give them some kind of call to action, like commenting on the book on your Facebook page, or on Goodreads, or on the retail platform. So what you're basically doing here is that you're really reaching out socially to build your audience, which is critical. So let's talk about ebook marketing. Or book marketing, sorry. So email marketing is the key to driving sales and getting you noticed by retail platforms. So looking on BookBub, it's the best option right now to pursue readers. And it's the best option to sell your books quickly. First, what BookBub will do is that they'll send an email blast about your book to their existing 1 million plus subscribers who are readers in different genres. And BookBub requires that you actually meet a couple of minimum criteria. First of all, you want to make sure that your book is in between 75,000 and 150,000 words. Now, this is a lot of words, but BookBub will take your book. It just depends on how professionally your book, your cover is, your marketing is, your distribution is. All of these are very, very important to their decision in taking you. And it does cost a bit of money, but I can tell you it's well worth it, and I'll explain in a bit. So then, once you've done that, you want to choose a plan on your existing niche. Now, if you're writing fiction, BookBub works wonders. You want to price your book at about $1.99 as your price promotion or your promotional price. You always want to ensure that you have good reviews on retail sites. Now, I've seen bad reviews for Gone with the Wind, so it's not specific that you'll have good reviews all the time. So I just wanted to make that clear. So you want to ensure that your books are out there on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, Apple, Google Play. You want to make sure that the distribution is there. You want to make sure that you have a really good, strong book design. And you want to make sure that you have the right metadata and a really great cover. And once the blast goes out, what you're doing is that you're looking for a return of about 1.5. What we mean by that is, if you spend $400 to place your book on BookBub in an email marketing blast, you want to be able to see at least $600 in sales. Remember that this is a business. You want to ensure that you have solid ROI coming back to you. And more importantly, one trick that we've noticed is that you want to keep your Goodreads ads running for best results. So finally, let's jump in quickly to offline marketing. And we're going to be using something for offline marketing based on what is known as USPS Direct Marketing and their service known as Every Door Direct Mail. So what you want to basically do is you want to add your books to a website or bookstore. Now, you can create a website or web page for your book, or you can actually purchase the domain name and redirect that domain name to your Facebook page. Very, very simple. So if your book is called Monkey Underwear, you can buy www.monkeyunderwear.com and redirect that to your Facebook page. So when people type that in, they're going to be sent to that Facebook page with all those comments and all those likes and all those people, and you can tell them interact with your Facebook page as well. You want to create a discount code for your book. You want to make about 1,000 flyers, and you want to sign up for USPS Every Mail door-to-door. you want to select a target area using Google Trends, and you want to send flyers that include the website and the discount codes to that particular person or that particular area. So I'm going to quickly head over to the website, and we're going to go over to Google Trends. And here's what we're looking for. If I have a book that is similar to, let's say, 50 Shades of Grey, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say 50 Shades of Grey. Let's go ahead and type that in quickly. And so we're over here at 50 Shades of Grey. And so I can see what it looks like. Yeah, this looks like pretty good traffic, but I need more. So I'm going to look on first locations. So do I want to talk about people apparently love 50 Shades of Grey in the Philippines, in Trinidad and Tobago, and in my own country of Jamaica. But then right behind it, it's the US. So I want to look on the US today. So I've done that. So I can see basically here the type of things that they are looking for, what is basically breakout, and where exactly in the US people are searching for the term 50 Shades of Grey. Now, I don't want to do this since the beginning of time, so I want to choose a particular time range. So I'm going to add a time range, and I'm going to probably say the last 12 months is a good enough time period. So I can see here that over the last 12 months, the different locations across the US that people are interested in 50 Shades of Grey. And wow, in West Virginia, people seem to be very interested in 50 Shades of Grey. So let's take a look there. So wow, now I can drill down and I can see, Pittsburgh, Washington. These are the top places in this particular area. How much more do they know? I can click on this link and I can bring it right down to Pittsburgh. So this is where all of the searches for 50 Shades of Grey are being generated. So clearly, if I wanted to do offline marketing, this is where I would want to be. I wouldn't try to go national because I wouldn't have the budget to do that. So I'm going to target this particular area. So let's just hit the back button to see what if I went to Washington and said that. So I can see here that in Alexandria, Washington, and Arlington, these are the places where people are searching for the words 50 Shades of Grey the most. If I'm going to do any type of offline marketing, this is where I'm going to start targeting. And the good thing about every direct door is that they provide you with the ability to hit these places up with flyers that will give you all of that information. So you want to also target smaller bookstores in the area as well. So I would reach out to these individuals and start the entire process. So let's put it all together. Following the steps we recommend, you can format your books in multiple formats. Give yourself the opportunity to get more sales by being on more sales channels. You want to also choose the best distribution channel for your book. So get your book listed everywhere so that readers can discover your title wherever they look. And finally, you want to push discovery on the right channels, because getting your book discovered by people that like your content will lead to obviously more conversions and ultimately a snowball effect of more sales. So basically, in concluding, using these methods will drive sales and build an entire audience. You're going to need this to be successful in publishing, and this is what successful self-publishers are doing.